want to cancel. No, we're gonna redo it. Hello, YouTube. It's your boy T. The whole point of this video is to, give y'all my review of this controller and what I like about it, and how it works in game, and what I've been doing, to improve my aim and whatever the case may be, and what kind of settings I use on this controller. And the whole point I came here is I got a website that I go to that you can go check out for yourself if you really want to know the true response time of your controller, the milliseconds, and what your controller is actually being read by the controller when it's hooked up to Windows 11 or whatever the case may be. So, the stick latency on the DualSense Edge is 8 milliseconds, because this is the controller that a lot of people are using and they are bragging about, saying that this is the best controller, whatever the case may be. Okay, all this is the website you can go to, and you can download their testing tools or whatever and test it out for yourself to get an accurate result of your controller. Now, they got other tests that you got to use, and you have to download or buy certain modules to hook up to your motherboard to actually get an accurate test of your controller, to actually see what input is actually getting read. But a lot of people don't got time for doing all that soldering and all that BS just to get that to work and actually get a test of your controller. Nobody is doing that unless you're actually doing a big review and you're getting paid for it. But hear me out. I lose this controller and I like it. I got my left stick at rectangle. I got my right stick at circle. Let me tell you, having your right stick at circle feels like I'm using a mouse and keyboard. A lot of people say, well, it does eliminate you doing certain diagonal movements. But usually when you have your right stick at square, it does seem like it's a jitter or it's something happening when you're trying to aim at someone at a 90-degree angle going towards the right or the left, or even at an acute angle, or a I forget the other one, but yeah, acute angle or a latitude angle, whatever the case may be. You going to the left and you going like this, it's kind of different. So I got my settings set up like this, and I got my what's in them at 12-bit, so I can get a little bit more variation of that circle, so I have a little bit more room, so it'd be just as good as a square input. Now, some people say the square input, you can't get a perfect circle with it, so it does go outside the range of that circle sometimes, where it will start reading certain things and not supposed to read, so that can mess up your aims. That's why I got my right stick at a circle range. Now, when you're doing a test, you want to have debounce off and on. You want to test it on both. So, all right, based on the test results that I had in the past, I was able to get 1500. So we're gonna do like 3 tests. As you can see, I got 1306. We're gonna do it again. All right, that one right there is a false a false test. A false test is when you get a whole bunch of reads of ones and you're not pressing the input. That's a 1350. We're gonna do 1000 one. That's a 1433. And now we're gonna do the accurate test that you're supposed to use if you really want to use the website gamepadia.com. Go to gamepadia.com if you really want to get the accurate test to actually see how fast your controller actually is, because they're gonna give you everything you need. Notice that the controller is not getting read by the thing so crazily, and we got to do that test again because that's not accurate. So, because they just said, yeah, you can run a test again. You always want to run a test at least a few more times, because you can get a false negative. Now I'm getting 1000 hertz. Now it's time to get off of here, and you can test out the where is it at? Hold on, GPDL. Now I had to download all of these. Now hear me out. I had to download all of these tests. Yeah, so I'm gonna test out the right stick regardless. You can test out the stick here. And now you want to move, get ready to move it, and then you want to do this. Alright. This is how you know, like, the data points resolution is 1374, and data points is 18 something, boom boom boom, and linearity of 57%. Now we're gonna do the right stick. We'll exit out of that. That's what you really want. That's a good test. Watch, when I go there, it's gonna give you a whole explanation. This is the reason why I said download their apps, so you can see how good your controller actually stands out amongst the rest. Your left stick, I'm not so. Let me break it down. The left stick, I'm not so big on the left stick being great. The left stick could be like anything because that's usually like your movement, unless you're a left-handed player. If you're a left-handed stick player or left-handed gamer, yeah. Now we about to do it here. I'm gonna do the right stick. Now, notice that the right stick have a little bit more linearity and the data points is even higher. And the data points being that high is actually pretty good. You want your data points to be high because that gives you a little bit more room of like what your controller can actually, what kind of data is getting put out at once. And if you're getting a lot of data, like 2,000 data or whatever, usually that's what any controller that's at 1,000 hertz. And if you got like a resolution of 0.007, that means that a small movement can trigger your controller, which is good. And that's what you want if you're trying to compete against the best. You want that type of read or whatever the case may be. So this controller could technically get up to 2,000 hertz if they updated the firmware a little bit more. But the controller, I don't know what it is with the left stick, but the left stick always get red a step ahead. I don't know what it is, but when I test out this controller, that's one thing I do know and realize. But when I got D-bounce on, and I put that on and I actually do the test again, because I get 1,500 sometimes on these tests as well. But it just depends on, you know, the situation and when I do the test. So like right now, it's not doing that BS. And I got a pulling rate of 400 that time because some bullshit. Oh, that's some bullshit. That's a false read, usually. Let's do 4,000. That's 1,000. I actually stopped in the middle of that, so we're just gonna keep going. We'll do another one. That's 1382. So this controller can actually get over 1,200, and 1,300 is good because if you got anything over 1,000 hertz, you got a good controller. When it comes to pulling rate, and then pulling rate, people care about pulling rate when it comes to FPS because FPS, you know what I'm saying, you want to have the paddles in the back, at least some extra inputs on your controller for FPS. You want at least something, unless you just like to play claw. And then I got like extra buttons right here. I got like 6 buttons right there where I got 6 buttons in the front pace, and it kind of remind me of the OG Xbox controller. And the only reason I came and made this video is just to show y'all that the polling rate can be higher than 1,000 hertz. Now the polling rate on this what's the name is saying that at 4 seconds, at 5 seconds. Now this is like at each second of me pressing an input, right? And at each second I'm getting a 0.7 millisecond, 0.9 millisecond, 0.7 millisecond, 0.6, 0.3 millisecond. What the hell? See, that's crazy that I got a 0.05 millisecond. Now that got something to do with like the micro inputs, and then I started pressing the button here. I started pressing the button at one of these inputs. Cause it's like an error. I don't know what it is with the controller. That's why people use this to do the test. But turn this off if you playing any FPS game, because it says it right here in the setting. And the thing I like about this controller that really stands out about it is that it has the quick switch configuration where you don't have to have this app open to do a lot of shit. So yeah, and then you just go here, put it on that setting. You know what I'm saying? And you're good. You know, I have mine on circle. Now I usually have this set to like the S curve. So what I do is I want a true S curve, so I do this, and this is just to get the S curve or whatever. So you do it like kind of like right here or whatever. Not, and I'm gonna bring it down a little bit. Boom. I like mine on the S curve with the square, with the rectangle, and the reason why, and this is only with movement, because it says it right here. It says if your joystick push a button to complete a full circle, the track should be a perfect circle. However, under circular track algorithm, if players want to make their character run in some games, which the joystick pushes to the edge, it can directional, diagonal, or whatever the case may be, the character acceleration will be obviously lower than when pushing the joystick up and down in right direction. Therefore, a rectangle track algorithm can ensure constant data output in all directions for the joystick. And every controller is at a square diameter, even the like DualSense Edge. Now the whole point of this video is just to show you how fast I got the controller to do. Now you can sit there and say, "Oh, you cheated, bro. You sit up there and mess with the freaking overclocking setting." Well, the whole point of this video is to show y'all that you really want to see how fast the controller is, man. People want to see how fast the controller is, and hear me out. The controller is up there. It's up in the top, whatever controllers like Flydigi. Now hear me out. It said the stick latency is 19.7 or whatever right here, and this is verified by the what's the name, and the button latency is 6 milliseconds, which is not bad. It's just that for it to be 19 milliseconds, it has Hall effects, by the way. Anything that says Hall, it has Hall effects sticks. This is another controller that has a lower button latency, but the stick latency is 14. It's up there. Now, don't get me wrong. These tests is not real world performance. These are tests that you're not going to see on the naked eye. Notice on the DualSense Edge, you got a 7 millisecond, a higher millisecond than the Vader Pro, right? But it's not a naked eye notice. Like it's 19, and then the stick latency is better on this. That's because it's in a D input. The D input usually has a better input anyway. And then you got this. This has the lowest button input latency at 0.73. And I kind of look at it like, bro, you're not going to notice that. And I'm going to